Hi everyone, back with another film review, and this time it's Bohemian Rhapsody. So this is the last of the films that I needed to see all the films nominated for Best Picture. So that's just a hint. If you want to know everything, you can go back and see all my reviews, although I'll probably do an Oscar preview in a couple of weeks. So we'll do our usual thing. Should you go see this film? Should you go see it in a cinema? Then we'll talk about it a little bit, and then we'll go to spoilers. And spoilers will be the main section because this is always an issue with biopics, is how true is this film? And then the other thing is sometimes a film cannot be true, but also how true is it spiritually to the story of Freddie Mercury, who is the main lead in this film. So let's get to it. Should you go see this film? Well, I think this film's pretty bad. And the irony is I know it's a huge crowd pleaser. And it's a crowd pleaser because everyone walks in there, whether you're young or old. And if you're young, you go, who's this band? Queen, I love the music. Or you're old and you instant get this nostalgic rush. But it's not a good film, and I'm going to explain why after the beat. But if you did need to go see it, or felt that you wanted to go see it, I would go see it in a cinema because it's all about the music, and the soundtrack is great for that feeling of, you know, back when they were playing in the 80s. Okay, I'll be back in a second. Bye. Okay, so Bohemian Rhapsody, in a nutshell, is the story of the band Queen and its most famous lead singer, Freddie Mercury, or Farouk Abulsan, and what happens from 1970, give or take, to 1985, give or take. So, as I said, in spoilers, I'm going to talk about what they do there. But the first thing we have to talk about, because this film is got quite a few issues, and some of them are the film and some of them are outside the film. But the first thing is, it was directed by Bryan Singer. And the reason why you might have heard that name lately is a couple of Bryan Singer is been alleged, and there are numerous, and when I say numerous court cases going on for, I'm not going to get into it all, but a variety of sexual assaults involving mainly minors. And this has been going on. I remember, I can't remember how long ago it was, but he did a film called Apt Pupil, I think based on a Stephen King short story. And this would be like 99 or something like that. And there were rumors then that something had happened. But his career went on, and Bryan Singer is famous for The Usual Suspects, which is one of my favorite films, just a great film. But really, from then on, he's maybe made 12 films, give or take, and every fourth film is not bad, pretty good. Some of the X-Men ones, for instance, but most of them are rubbish. And in this film, not only did you have the allegations, but 3/4 through the film, the cast and crew rebelled, and the singer was replaced with Brian Fletcher. Brian Fletcher, again, you probably would know his face. He's been an actor for a long time, and he's starting to go into film directing. He directed Eddie the Eagle, which is a little kind of film which kind of found an audience. And he's also been signed now to do Rocket Man, the biopic of Elton John. So you get the idea. Now, it was near the end, so I'm not sure how big an influence he had. So already you're in rocky ground. Then this film, look, to be clear, is really a boring biopic. I mean, the scenes involving the actual chronology of the band are just really out of an old textbook. The only time the film comes to life is with the music and the band playing. But the saving grace, and the reason why I think it got a Best Picture nomination, is because Rami Malek plays Freddie Mercury. And if you know Malek from the Mr. Robot series, That's where most people would know him from. He is really, really good in a hard role because it's always hard to play a person who people know. But Freddie Mercury wasn't like any normal person. I mean, he famously had the teeth, like he was born with 4 extra teeth. Everyone puts it more like as a super overbite, but if you go back and see him, singing and stuff, it's not as kind of outrageous as it is, and kind of changes how Malik acts. But he is very good. He really captures that kind of diva Mercury-ness or mercurial to pun, and is really, really good. The rest of the cast are really bad to average. Like, you've got Aidan Gillian, he's always kind of good. There's quite a few people who are kind of good to just being forgettable. Yeah, I don't know how it got a Best Picture nomination. It is by far the weakest of the 8. And I know everyone loves it. You'll hate this review, but that's, just the way I see it. I'm going to come back. Okay, so we're in spoilers, so I assume you've seen the film, but anyway, this is more, if you hadn't seen the film, it's not going to spoil anything because you might actually know the real history of the band. And what I'm going to talk about are 2 things. One is look, every biopic takes liberties with the story to make it a lot more fun for a general audience. It's not a documentary, I get that. But there are certain decisions that you make when you do a biopic which can affect the actual integrity of the story. And I think in this case, they've really taken some big liberties. So just so you know, the band never broke up. The band was still touring just before the 3rd act scene in which they kind of come back together for the big audience. They'd put out an album, The Works, and they'd been touring just before that. The other thing is, Freddie Mercury, and this is really a big thing, Freddie Mercury didn't find out that he had AIDS till 86 or 87. That big triumphal scene at the end is in 85. He didn't tell the band till 89. So that is really not just, we'll oomph it up for the story. That's completely just making a false story. And in a way which because I remember going, this is a bad film, but I loved the 3rd act. I loved that whole staged scene for the Live Aid. And of course it carries a lot of oomph because I did think that must be what happened, because I did know the bones of his story, but I didn't know all the dates and that. And when I read that letter, I went, wow, I really feel manipulated. I just don't think that some of these things were needed. Now, the other big thing to talk about is Freddie Mercury, I know when I was growing up, was probably the most famous gay person that I'd heard of. And really brave in a way that, you kind of are quite unusual at the time. And so for this film, what they basically do is take one of the most famous gay people in pop culture and they kind of take a large amount of gay out of it. And the reason why I'm saying that is the whole beginning of the story is Queen forming, Freddie Mercury having the tensions with his family between tradition and being a pop star. But there's also this other thing where he's in love and has a relationship with Mary before he kind of discovers that he's gay and then goes on to have gay. And they really use that as the fulcrum for the 1st act, definitely, and then well into the 2nd act. And I don't know, to me, it is a very unusual choice to make that your beginning when it really is about a person who, because of the way he led his life and because he died of AIDS, is really quite an icon in how devastating that disease was in the gay community and how that community had been treated generally by most people in the past. So I found that a little bit unsettling. So you throw in Rami Malek's not singing, that's all Queen and an impersonator, although I loved his acting. The Bryan Singer stuff, it's not a good film. And then what happens is you get that great third act. So that Live Aid recreation, that's fantastic. I don't know, see it and enjoy Malek's performance, but this is not a good film. Shouldn't be a Best Picture film, and I actually think it's a little bit distasteful, whether because of Bryan Singer or because of the way I think that it tries to box in the gay lead performer. So that's it. Wow, that's a bit down for that one. Million films still to come. I'm now going to try and see all the other films which have been nominated for other awards now that I've knocked off all the best pictures. If you like what I'm doing, hit like, hit the bell, then you'll always know when I've got new stuff. Please leave comments, and I know I'm in the extreme minority. Everyone loves this film, and I'd love to have that debate. I'm on Twitter at Guru Eden, and I'll talk to you then. Bye.